What is going on? Toast Sports Baseball is back with episode 10, and we've got a wild slate today. Jacob deGrom could not strike anybody out. Ohtani just became the first to 20 bombs, and the Phillies might be the best team in baseball. Oh, and Tarik Skubal just might have thrown the most dominant game of all time. Cue the music. Let's start there because what Skubal just did was not just dominant. It was historic. 13 strikeouts, no walks, under 100 pitches. This was not a game. This was a masterclass. Let's break it down. Joe, I don't even know where to start with this one. How impressed were you with this outing?
Yeah, he's a stud. He throws absolute cheddar bob. The game last weekend, he had a 78.7 strike percentage, 74 strikes, 94 total pitches. He had a Maddox game, which is any game under 100 pitches, and completely stifled the Cleveland Indians.
Yeah, and Maddox's don't come by very often, but they have been seen from time to time, but they don't happen like this. He was the first pitcher in MLB history to record a complete game shutout with 13 strikeouts in under 100 pitches. And let's talk about that last strikeout, 102.6 miles an hour.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I was up the bat, I probably would have squared it up. Would have been my third or fourth time seeing him. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely quick. Definitely got to get loaded, get the foot down, and see what happens. But no, in reality, it's insane. It's kind of a blast from the past seeing complete games again. And then someone that's able to throw 103 miles per hour in the ninth. It reminds me, the last pitcher I can think of that was doing that was Verlander, or at least somewhat. He would be touching 100 in his ninth inning back in the day. So very cool, very fun time to be a Tigers fan. You have to be excited. They technically have the second best record in baseball, the most wins in baseball, I believe. And, I think the team is ready to make a big push come October.
Yeah, they're super fun to watch right now. To give some context, he was the first Tigers pitcher to throw a complete game with 13 plus strikeouts and fewer than 3 base runners. They've had guys like Scherzer come through there. They've had guys like Verlander come through there. Where does this outing place for you in the all-time outings for pitchers? I know there's been perfect games and there's been all these 20 strikeout games and all these things like this. Where do you put this?
I would say it's probably top 10. I'd have to dive into it a little deeper. I could only think of 3 games that came to my mind immediately, all from the 90s. The first one is in 95 with the Montreal Expos. Pedro Martinez threw a perfect game through 9 innings against the San Diego Padres, the Tony Gwynn-led San Diego Padres. And unfortunately, it wasn't good enough because they were tied 0-0 after 9. And they allowed Pedro to go back out, immediately gives up a double, so the perfect game's lost. Mm-hmm. However, they had a play at home to get the run that would lead the game for the Padres. That would give them the lead. And then they're able to get out of it and then win the game. So Pedro was technically through 9 innings, a perfect game, and then gave up 1 hit in the 10th. I had that ahead of it. I have the original Maddox game. Greg Maddux, he threw 78 pitches against the Cubs in 97 with 6 Ks. He had 63 strikes out of 78 pitches, which is 80.7% strike percentage, which is absolutely insane. I also think the game took like 2 hours and 7 minutes, which is before all the time changes, or rule changes that it made the game quicker, which makes it even more insane. Yeah. I would say throwing 78 pitches in 9 innings it's stupid.
Yeah, that's outrageous.
Especially when you have 80% strikes. It's like the ball's in the zone, you just can't hit it, or you're hitting it weakly. And then lastly is the 98 game with Kerry Wood. 20 Ks. He did have 122 pitches, I believe. However, I would rank it ahead of, if I had to have negatives against a 9-inning Maddox 13K game. It was against the Indians, which isn't the strongest offensive team, and he did give up a hit to like their one only hitter, which Pedro did not. And then obviously Kerry Wood, back to him. He was facing a loaded Astros team, which won 102 games that year. And they had the 2 Hall of Famers, Jeff Bagwell and Craig Biggio, and then several All-Stars as Moises Alou, Brad Ausmus, former manager of the Tigers, I believe, and Derek Bell. They also had Randy Johnson and, Wagner, the closer, who just got elected into the Hall of Fame. Billy Wagner. The team was gross, that Astros team, and Kerry Wood went out there and put 20 Ks on them. So I think it's definitely a great game. I don't know if it's the greatest game of all time, greatest pitching game of all time in my book, but there's a little blast from the past, I guess, that I have at least 3 games rated ahead of them.
No doubt. I think, when we're talking about the best games that we've seen, maybe ourselves, this is definitely in recent history one of the better outings that I can remember. When we're talking about those strike percentages, he did throw 76.6% strike percentage. He retired the first 15 batters in order. And the fact that he ended it with 102 mile an hour strike is just, I don't know. It's poetic in certain ways. I definitely think we're starting to see, I mean, obviously he's already won a Cy Young, but he's kind of separating himself right now as the best pitcher in baseball. It's up there, basically right now it's him, Skeens, Yamamoto, like that.
Garrett
Crochet, maybe. The problem with him is he's got a problem that none of those other guys have except for Skeens, which is their team doesn't score runs. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's a lot to be said about this outing. His post-game reflection was, this is quoted, "I got a little teary-eyed out there, honestly, because before the inning started, I just thought to myself, 12-year-old me would not believe that was an opportunity to have a fan support the way it does here in that moment." You got to love this for the Tigers, man. They haven't seen good baseball in a while, and they're getting treated to phenomenal baseball by their team. I'm rooting for the Tigers a little bit. I'm enjoying watching them kind of have this resurgence, and good for Skubal, man. But yeah, definitely one of the better in recent memory for me.
Yeah, I mean, the Tigers, every time they make a deep postseason push, they have excellent pitching, usually led by a superstar ace, and it looks like they have that in Tarik Skubal for this year.
No doubt. Let's talk about a less than exciting start from a rival AL pitcher, Mr. Jacob deGrom, who, by the way, we've talked about in the past as one of the best pitchers that we've seen in recent history as well, just because of his stuff and it's electric and his ability to strike people out, but not last outing. First game in his 229th MLB start. First time deGrom failed to record a strikeout. Yeah, kind of crazy actually, because this just doesn't happen. I think that his last few outings, he had a double-digit strikeout game, a 7K strikeout game, and then he comes in and against a Blue Jays team that's not overly inspiring in their offense, and gives up 5 hits, couple runs, 2 walks, and doesn't strike out anybody.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, he had a 10-7-9 strikeout game respectively going in. I did not watch the game, but it is curious. He was pulled at 81 pitches. I'm assuming he got some traffic in that 5th inning, which is why he was pulled and put an arm in to kind of preserve this low-scoring affair, 1-2. But I mean, I just think it happens. He's older. It is odd to think of Jake deGrom not getting a strikeout for sure, but I don't think it's anything to raise a red flag over based off what he's done this year so far.
No doubt. I definitely think it is odd, especially with his strikeout stuff. I think my thing with him is I get a little bit nervous anytime anything weird happens with Jacob deGrom, Because over the last few seasons, it's been like, he's a stud. He comes back from injury. He has a couple of really great outings. And then all of a sudden, boom, something happens and he's out and hurt. I just hope that it was nothing but a bad outing and that he was pulled because, they just had to get him out of the game with some traffic and nothing more than that. I didn't check his velocities from this last game. I'm hoping nothing was down there, but
yeah, I literally was just typing that in. He was topped out at 98.7, so it sounds like the velocity was fine.
Yeah, no problem.
It was one of those baseball games that I think just an odd game. Couldn't get a guy to swing and miss with 2 strikes. It's tough to do.
There is a conspiracy theory about why this happened. I don't know if anybody out there follows social media. The Costco guys were there. And the Costco guys, it's Big AJ and I forget what the other kid's name is, something Justice and or Big Justice or something. And these guys, they started on social media and they were flourishing. They're kind of it's a dad and a son. They're an odd duo and they're way over the top. And there's been this whole thing that when they go and they cheer for your team and they put your team stuff on, that you're bound, like something is bound to happen that's not good. And sure enough, they were there at the game that day and wore Rangers stuff, had a picture, and the Rangers posted them on their social media pages. And deGrom goes, no strikeouts, they lose the game. I don't know. I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but I might be able to get behind this one.
Yeah, the Red Sox need to ban the Costco brothers immediately. There's already enough bad luck going on in Boston. Stay away.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about that division. The Rays, man, what's going on there? 6 straight wins, but yet somehow still 6 games below the Yankees. I'm buying in on the Rays there right now. I really have enjoyed watching them play baseball, and they're not even fully healthy yet. I'm starting to believe in this team a little bit. I think the Yankees should probably watch their back a little. I think that lead could shrink pretty quickly.
Yeah, I don't think any lead's safe in the AL East until it gets over double digits. I think the Rays and the Blue Jays are going to stay around a little bit. Yeah, but to your point, I mean, Shane McClanahan's finally throwing from 90 feet. It looks like his tricep injury is improving, which is good for the fantasy baseball team as well. And the Rays always go and make some move at the deadline that everyone thinks is terrible and ends up being great. Kevin Cash is one of the better managers in the league, probably a top 3 manager. And they always have great pitching and defense. So it will be interesting down the stretch with the AL East. I think it's still up for grabs, even though the Yanks have a 6-game lead.
Yeah, they kind of remind me of baseball's version of the Steelers. It's like they don't make huge investments into their team year after year after year. They have a lot of consistency, and they're just always like there and winning games and performing a little bit better than you think that they're going to do. And then every once in a while, they break into the playoffs and cause a little bit of hell. So it's cool. I mean, the Rays are a fun team to watch. I do think that they will not be in Tampa for much longer, God willing, because they just, I mean, with how consistent their organization has been, I'd love to see them get a little bit more national presence, maybe. And I just don't think Tampa's really cutting it out for them over there.
Yeah, I would love to know, obviously, their valuation based off like seats sold and stuff like that. But I think their biggest asset is their front office.
Yes.
I mean, and it's odd because like the Dodgers took their front office, the Red Sox took parts of their front office. Other teams have taken parts of their front office. And besides the Dodgers, no one's been able to replicate what Tampa still is able to do. It's a case study within itself. But I think it's an organization understanding their payroll and maximizing their philosophy. And their philosophy is pitching and defense. It's been like that since they started taking off in 2008. And they have not changed. And I don't have it off the top of my head, but I would imagine they've been a winning baseball team above 500 and have made the playoffs 70-80% of the year since 2008. So It would be cool to see them in a bigger market. But then again, you know, sometimes when you get that extra payroll and you start investing in people, it doesn't end up working out. And then those added pressures come. I mean, I've seen it now 2 times with the Red Sox.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, they usually get fired right before their whole young core gets there.
Yep.
Which is kind of what's happened twice now with the Red Sox with their 2 ex-Rays executives. St. Louis has one now. Obviously, Ben Cherington's with the Pirates. But no one can do it as good as Tampa does somehow. They always keep the magic alive. The manager has part to do with it as well. You have to have someone that completely respects that process that the front office is doing and then buys into it as well.
Yeah, no doubt. We have to stay here on teams that are hot, and it's a team that is right now one of the hottest in baseball, and that is the Philadelphia Phillies. When we're talking about teams that are smoking hot, this team just went on a 9-game winning streak. It just ended, actually, I believe, maybe yesterday, maybe the
Sunday.
day before.
I think
Sunday.
they were off Monday.
So they are now, I believe they have the best record in baseball. Their pitching has been instrumental in this run that they've had. Their team ERA is among the best in the league during this streak. And they're mashing the baseball too. I mean, Kyle Schwarber's been amazing. I know Bryce Harper started kind of heating up as well. And I could see the Phillies, especially with what's going on with the Mets and the Braves, and everyone's kind of like sitting down there and not really making any headway in the standings. I could see the Phillies maybe pulling away a little bit. Obviously, this will tighten up down the stretch, but it wouldn't surprise me to see the Phillies open a 6-7 game lead on that division for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about it last week, but I mean, they're probably the best team in baseball that does not get talked about. They have, in my opinion, the best GM in baseball with Dave Dombrowski. He will pull the move that makes everyone uncomfortable, but ultimately puts his team this year in the best position to win, which if you're a fan, you love, that's what you want. And they are going to be a force to reckon with in the NL. So I think if they play their cards right, they could build a big enough lead where the Braves cannot catch them.
I'll tell you now, don't ask the Phillies fans about Dave Dombrowski, man. I was getting lit up this last week on social media. I got Phillies fans in there telling me that this guy stinks and he won't do anything good for their team. And, I have a hard time believing that because when I look at the roster that he's built, he went out and got Trey Turner. He's obviously kept a lot of guys. I think that's the thing that gets overlooked, right? He's keeping talent in-house as well. And he's also going out and acquiring it when it's needed. I mean,
well, didn't he get Bryce Harper as well?
Yes. But here's my thing is you have the Phillies they don't need to make a ton of moves. So they're like, oh, well, we're being complacent. It's like, yeah, but your team is already very solid and they're winning a ton of games. And not just this year, but they won a ton of games last year and they've been good for the last couple of years. It's like, what do you want him to do? You want him to just go out and get Ohtani every single year? It doesn't happen that way in baseball. And I think, as fans, we kind of sometimes get a little frustrated because we don't see moves being made. But the ones that you don't see are probably the ones that are most impactful, and that's keeping the guys in house. And bringing up talent when it's needed, right? Like Bryson Stott, he brought up. I know a couple of other guys in that organization have been brought up. So. Speaking of bringing guys up, the Royals might be needing to do it pretty soon here. There's a guy down in AAA, fan favorite of ours, being Gator fans, Jack Caglione, 5 home runs in 4 games, and in his six AAA games that he's had, he has 5 home runs. So much for a increase in competition.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get it. I also don't get ESPN's top 50 ranking they just released in May, and he's 18th. Which I feel like is pretty low. But, yeah, I mean, I feel like he would be an immediate boost to the offense, and if he doesn't work out, you send him right back down. So I know he's trying out outfield to try to kind of create a position for himself on the big league roster. But ultimately, these teams have to put in. It doesn't matter where your best talent's at. Your fans deserve to have the best product on the field, and if that means Jack Caglione, who's had a year and change in the minors, makes your team better at the MLB level, then that's what you do. So I think the call up will be sooner than later. He's knocking on the door too loud for anyone to answer. And obviously, hopefully he succeeds being another Gator. He can join Pete Alonso and Wyatt Langford holding down Gator Nation.
Yeah, and he can go up there and smack a couple homers because his last couple that he's had were distances of 410, 431, and 459, and he had exit velocities soaring over 108 miles per hour. He smashes the baseball, and it is fun to watch when it leaves his bat. I do think that there's a case to be made. Obviously, he's trying out the outfield, but if it doesn't work out there, I mean, are you really going to keep Vinny Pasquantino from keeping him coming up? I mean, even at the worst, right? I mean, you could find a way to get him in with some DHing. I don't see any reason that this guy's still in AAA. Doesn't make any sense to me.
And it's crazy because they're tied for the last wild card spot currently. I mean, technically they have a worse record than the Astros, but they're tied. They have one more loss, but one more win. But it's like, dude,
it's go time.
Yeah, it's time to put your best foot forward. And I don't know what the Royals are doing except trying to get an additional year of service time, which that's what small market teams do. But if you're in playoff picture, go get it.
That rarely ends well, by the way, holding off those things and usually tarnishes some relationships along the way. However, when we're talking about guys that smash the baseball, there's a guy out in LA that is no stranger. Shohei Ohtani, man, this guy just keeps smashing the baseball. And I actually put out a tweet earlier today. I tend to sometimes get annoyed by over coverage on players, and you got the ESPNs going all over LeBron all the time and everything else. Shohei Ohtani is one player that I don't really get tired of the coverage on because he is absolutely incredible and it just doesn't stop. He keeps getting better, and I don't know, man. I don't know how many home runs he's going to hit this year, but he's already at 20, and it doesn't seem like it's going to let up anytime soon. He's now hit 3 games in a row with a home run. 2 of them were leadoff homers, and he's hitting them far. I mean, we're talking 400 plus feet every single time. Exit velocity is over 115. It's nuts.
Yeah, and he has 11 stolen bags, and he's throwing his bullpen right now, which in the video I saw, his splitter looks stupid. So, yeah, he's a stud. He's the best the sport has to offer at the moment. And as long as he stays healthy, it should be a fun summer watching him continue.
How many home runs is he going to hit this year? If you
48.
had, if you, oh God, get out of here. Get out of here. I got him approaching that 60 number, dude. I think I don't think that it's going to slow down at all. I think it's we're going to see it heating up here. The only thing that could keep him from getting to that number, I think, is if he comes back and starts pitching, and they got to figure out how to get him in the lineup around his pitching days and everything like that, because that gets a little convoluted. Also, if he has to go down, I don't know how they're going to do this whole thing where they bring him along, right? Because he's an everyday player for them in that DH spot. Are they going to send him down to AAA to, pitch a bunch and then bring him back up? Like, I don't know how that's going to work, or are they just going to basically bring him along through simulated games? I don't know. It could get weird in that aspect.
No, I think it's simple, which Toast Sports talked about first, but he'll just be a reliever.
I would love it.
He'll DH, and then he'll pitch 1 every 3 games. He'll throw his inning, maybe 2, and then he'll sit 3 days, hit, won't miss a beat. That's what I think they'll do. I think that's what he's going to get worked up to be, because I don't see them just extending him in the pen and doing live BP to make him a starter. And I think the injuries, the risk of injury is too high. So just have him as a reliever. The Dodgers somehow need reliever help, even if they have $100 million worth of payroll towards relievers. And It's a year where you can't have too many relievers. With starters only going 4 or 5 innings, and that's the norm, and then you throw 4 to 5 guys from your pen 1 inning each time, it's like, yeah, I mean, you get to have an extra reliever essentially because he's included as a position player. So the Dodgers automatically carry another reliever, bend the rules again, and they get an all-star pitcher out of it.
Yeah.
When he was healthy, he was arguably the best pitcher in baseball. So I think that's what they'll do. It makes sense, I think, from a roster management standpoint. It makes sense from a keeping Ohtani healthy standpoint. And then you obviously get Ohtani to focus on hitting primarily.
Yeah. I did see a stat also, just real quick. I want to say it said in 2010 at this point, or the entire season, there was like 355 guys that threw a pitch or came in and pitched an inning or something like that in the entire season. And this season already, we're in May, we're about to go into June. They've already met that number. So it's crazy how many, when you talk about you can never have too many relievers, you can have never have too many pitchers. It couldn't be more true of a statement right now in baseball.
Well, and just to quickly add to that point, the smart organizations have guys in AAA where if their bullpen gets taxed, they can call up this guy for a game or two, and then they send them back down to kind of restart their bullpen. The Red Sox aren't one of those organizations, but that is what your smart teams are doing, and it keeps the bullpen fresh, especially since there's more bullpen usage nowadays as there was 3 years ago, and it's astronomical as it was 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah, let's talk about a potential and speculative. We are speculating. I know this has been kind of going around. I've been seeing a little bit about this. I don't know where this came up, but there's been some trade rumors, or at least murmurs, of Volpe for Albies trade proposal, and I don't know, that could be kind of interesting at the very least. I mean, it feels like to me, Atlanta has been looking for a guy to hold down that shortstop position for quite a while now, and they kind of haven't really found that guy over a long period of time. Volpe's still young enough, and he hits the ball with some power, and he's also one of the best defensive, versatile guys at the shortstop position. I think it'd be kind of an interesting trade. I mean, you can replace second base a little bit better than you can replace shortstop, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the Braves currently got this guy that looks like the dude from Sandlot with the glasses playing short. I guess statistically he has is one of the better defenders in the league, but has zero offensive pop. And Albie's been less than impressive. So I understand he makes 25 cents a game, something like that, whatever the contract the Braves signed him for 5 years ago. But and Albies is still pretty young. To me, it seems like a wash. I thought it was interesting seeing Albies in the trade rumors as well, which usually where there's smoke, there's fire. So, yeah, I don't know. I think Albies is better than Volpe. If I had to choose between the two, I think I would choose Albies as of now, which classic Yankees would figure out a way to get him for coal and newspapers. So
I can give you, so they're both on my fantasy team right now. And both of them currently almost daily ride the bench for me because of how bad their offensive production has been. I'll give you Albies stats from 2024. He hit, by the way, we're talking multiple down years in a row now here for Albies. He had 1 year in between where he hit 33 home runs in 2023. But in 2022, he only hit 8 homers with a 247 average and an OPS of 703. Not inspiring, not horrible, but not inspiring. 2023, he had that massive year, 33 homers with an 849 OPS. Last year, massive step backwards. He did have some injury issues last year as well, but he only hit 10 homers with a 707 OPS. And this year, seems like the downtrend is continuing here. 5 homers with a 654 OPS, which would be, in my estimation, a career worst for him. So yeah, when you're talking about a guy that's not really inspiring you to continue to roll him out there and play. That kind of meets that criteria. And then Volpe, on the other hand, right? He's 24, so he's got 4 years on Albies. So there is that. And he's only played in a total of 371 games in his career. However, he's also been on a downtrend, but he has a lot more pop. This year, he's performing better than Albies is at 6 homers with a 763 OPS. He did have that 21 home run year in his rookie season, but only hit 666 with no. That was his OPS. I don't know. I think it could be a beneficial trade for both sides, though. I can see where they would slot in and be productive in those respective offenses, and it might send a jolt through them, kind of like with what we saw with Jazz Chisholm when he got sent to the Yankees. You know, he was kind of having these up and downs with the Marlins and wasn't really producing all that well and kind of taking a downturn. And then he got to New York and kind of found his form again and started playing really well. So I don't know. I kind of like the idea of the trade.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what Albies splits are, batting left-handed versus batting right-handed.
It's not good.
And I would imagine that his left-handed is better, which would play at Yankee Stadium, kind of like Jazz Chisholm. And so if you're Cashman, that's what I would look at. You're like, oh, well, we'll get this guy for 82 games at Yankee Stadium. He hits significantly better lefty than righty. He'll hit more lefty because there's more righty pitchers, that type of logic. And then we'll pay, obviously, that contract out, which is nothing for the Yankees. And maybe the Braves have other plans to re-sign young guys with that type of contract again.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's take a look. We're going to go way across the country here and talk about the A's for a minute. So the Oakland A's just placed their rookie first baseman Nick Kurtz on a 10-day injured list with a strained left hip flexor. That's a bummer for him. He was actually playing pretty well, if I remember correctly. Had 5 homers already. And bummer there. I know he's one of their top prospects. Hopefully that is nothing that keeps him out, for an extended period of time. The A's need all the help they can get right now. They've been really cold since that kind of hot stretch that they had. I think they went on a 10-game losing streak. So hoping for the best for Kurtz.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to blame the Sacramento Park like everyone else is. So,
yeah, they need to get the hell out of Sacramento, man. I don't know. I've seen some games there. It just feels weird. I can't explain it. It feels weird when you're watching the game. There's nobody in the outfield. Like there's like this big, in left field. It's like a big industrial building. It's just odd. It's a very odd park, and it's a very odd situation. I can't wait for them to get to Las Vegas, and hopefully all their young guys are just popping off at that time. They did acquire a new guy, though.
They did. They acquired Sean Newcomb, who was throwing pretty good for the Sox. Sox were like, hey, we need some cash, and who has the most cash? The A's do. So we're going to make this trade for them for their cash. I don't know what the A's have planned for him. Hopefully as a starter, because he has been having kind of a resurgence year. Mm-hmm. One note on the Sacramento Park, which was my favorite. I saw this video of Kate got tossed, and their dugout is not located. Or I'm sorry, their clubhouse is not located in the dugout, so he had to walk his happy ass all the way down the foul line because awesome. He got ejected.
That's great.
That was just like, man, that has, as a manager, that like you get tossed, you're like ready to like go into the clubhouse, turn on the TV, pop some cold ones, and he's got to walk all the way down the outfield just to do that. I was just like, yeah, I can see this being an absolute pain in the arse.
It was like a 4-minute walk, by the way. It was, and he was as slow as possible. But yeah, that is hilarious. I wonder if he'll get thrown out many more times, because I wouldn't want to have to deal with that, if I'm being honest.
I would have something set up where like they have a golf cart or something, and I would send the golf cart down if I got tossed. I'd be like, all right, fine. Hold on a second, Blue. Golf cart, come get me.
It'd be awesome. Oh man, yeah. A's, get the hell out of Sacramento, man. It's time. We want to see you in Vegas, where there's normal dugouts. Let's talk about your Red Sox. Your boys, Bregman out indefinitely. Not loving that, I can assure you. And then we got Marcelo Mayer called up, which was one of the guys that you were begging for. So give me your quick spiel here on what's going on with the Red Sox. What can we expect from Marcelo Mayer, and when's that other guy coming up?
Yeah, I mean, Bregman out's definitely a big punch in the gut. He's kind of like they compare him to like having Dustin Pedroia back because he brings that intensity and day-to-day grind. And really, Red Sox haven't had a veteran presence like that with postseason experience in their clubhouse in 4 years, 5 years. He has the same quad injury that he did in 21, which he missed 60 games, I believe, which was about 2.5 months. It's basically the black pill for the Red Sox. I'm Craig Breslow and Andrew Bailey. Their pitching lab is not successful. It was successful for all of 3 months, and I think since those 3 months were last year, all the starters and bullpen had like an ERA under 3. Now it's over 5 combined since that point. And like very questionable things from the pitching standpoint with Andrew Bailey. Like he calls a lot of the games for these young guys. And it's like, for example, Hunter Dobbins, he faces the lineup for a third time. He struggles against that, which like in most seasons where pitchers call their own game, it's like, oh, this is a learning curve,
Yeah.
But if you have the pitching coach calling the game and you're like doing that and like, oh, it's the third time in the lineup, let's pull them out. It's like, well, how about we call some different pitches? Because these guys aren't even managing their own game. So I don't know how much blame I can put on these young guys trying to develop and Andrew Bailey just, sucking at not calling the right pitches the third time in the lineup, knowing this information. And then with Craig Breslow, I think he's made some great signings and some great trades and has been aggressive. But ultimately, his communication has been the reason why all this drama has flourished throughout the Red Sox this year, which a lot of people predicted them to be in the World Series and be the AL winner. As for Meyer, obviously he's a stud young talent. He was the Red Sox, I think, 2nd or 3rd overall pick in 21 or 22. But I don't give the front office credit for that. I mean, they were forced to call him up because Bregman got injured. And of course, like they do with all their young talent, instead of letting them try to develop, they have them try and learn 50 different positions. Mm-hmm. And Meyer only played 5 games at third base in AAA, and immediately on the Saturday doubleheader, they're like, hey, dude, you're going to go play third base. So have fun, even though he is one of the top shortstop prospects in the league. But hopefully Roman Anthony will get called up soon, and I give them till the end of June to see where they're at. And if they're not near postseason, it's time to, have this be the last rebuilding year where you get all your young guys experience. You trade people like Jared Duran to supplement your young talent, and then you're able to make a push in the offseason. And kind of, as some people say, the incomplete offseason they had this year with figuring out defensively where people go, whether that be Devers, whether that be where do we fit Roman Anthony in with a full outfield. Do we trade Jared Duran? Do we trade Willie Abreu? What do we do with Cedar Rafael, who's a platinum glove defender, but is a terrible offensive hitter, just swings at anything in the zone? What do we do with first base? We had one first baseman going into the year, and then he gets injured 30 games in, and now we have no first baseman, except we asked Devers to go play first base. So there's just a lot of things that the Red Sox have not done right. They had a lot of stuff that looked good on the outside, but the inside of it was not good. And Bregman going down could be the nail in the coffin for the Red Sox 25 season. Well, we will see.
Yeah, and basically just to add on there, right? I really get a little bit nervous if I'm the staff for the Boston Red Sox right now. If you don't see a massive turnaround here, and you guys start winning some games, I don't see a reason to keep much of any of that staff around. And I don't think I would say Cora and all those guys underneath him would have to give me pretty compelling reasons to keep them around from what we've seen on the field. Obviously, the roster construction has its own issues and defensive shortcomings, which we've discussed at length. But at some point, you got to start holding this staff accountable and saying, hey, you've got talent galore on this team. It's not like you're void of talent. You guys got to go out and win games. Crochet's out there, and he's throwing 11K, 7-8 innings a game, shutout or one run, and he's losing 6 of 7. It's crazy. It's nuts.
Yeah, they're 4-13 in one-run games. Defensively, they've made the most errors in baseball besides the Colorado Rockies. But to my defense, the Cora and the staff, it's like they were told by the front office, dude, as soon as Trevor Stories comes back, defense is going to be fixed. You guys are going to be locked in. Trevor Story is a negative WAR defensive player. And on top of it, he has just over 600 OPS offensively. And we owe him $50 million. How is that Alex Cora's fault? Like, I don't understand what, like, are they supposed to do better defensive drills? Like, are they supposed to have these guys do push-ups when they make an error? Like, I don't know what you want them to do. Ultimately, how it's panning out is that this core that they had in place before Meyer, the Tristan Casas, the Jared Duran, the Brian Bayo, Cutter Crawford, Tanner Houck, all performing bad. And this was supposed to be the core, and then your Marcelo Myers, your Roman Anthony's, your Christian Campbells are supposed to supplement that, and then you have Devers, and we're going to go spend $40 million on Bregman. We're going to spend $20 million on Walker Buehler. We're going to go trade for Garrett Crochet. Those are all supposed to be supplementing the core, but the core is rotten. The core is rotten. And so it might just be we need to get a new core, and that's where I think it's heading. And I don't know how much you can blame that on Alex Cora. To me, that is a management thing when you're doing a team. When the Rays don't make the playoffs like they didn't do last year, they don't point the finger at Kevin Cash. They go, obviously we did not have a good enough team talent wise, and our strategy didn't work out for us to make the playoffs. They don't blame Kevin Cash. So that's kind of how I look at it. And I think they did fire a couple assistants last year, but I mean, Andrew Bailey is Craig Breslow's right-hand man who's the pitching coach, and the pitching is atrocious. So if there is one, Eye of Mordor staring down at something, I think Andrew Bailey has all the questions to answer, because he has starters that aren't performing as well as they were the first 3 months that he got there, and he has a taxed bullpen that Craig Breslow won't go and get more bullpen pieces. So between the pitching, and obviously I think when you play it at 162, if everyone is healthy, the defense would figure itself out with Bregman there at third. But, I mean, Trevor Story is at a point where it's like, dude, they did it with Pablo Sandoval. It's like, ties, eat the money, move Marcelo Meyer there. You're automatically going to improve defensively with Meyer at shortstop. So, yeah, it's like that is like and I don't know what they're waiting for. I honestly don't know what they're waiting for.
That feels like a no-brainer to me. Just make the move there. Obviously, now you've got some convoluted stuff with the third base position. But at the end of the day, my whole point here with Cora is you've been there since 2021. You haven't done shit with the roster, and it's gotten worse. So at some point, you got to look in the mirror and go, hey, you can defend this guy all you want, but Trevor Story is not the sole reason that this offense is inept. It's not the sole reason that they cannot perform when Crochet's on the mound. It's not the sole reason that they're losing games when they have a lead late. It's just Cora has a lot of blame in this, and he's got to step up, because I'm telling you right now, he will not be the manager for this team as they go through another rebuild. It's just not going to happen. He's not going to be here for 7-8 years while they're building a new core. I don't see it.
Well, hopefully it doesn't take that long. I don't think it should take that long. I will say
I mean
this.
7-8 years. I mean 7-8 years from when he started, which was 2021. We're already 4 years in.
Well, they just extended him last year, but I'll put it like this: in the movie Moneyball, like you have like the direction of the ownership, and the manager is directly going against that direction. And so it took Billy Beane freaking trading that first baseman so Hatteberg could. The only first baseman on the team was Hatteberg, and so the manager had to play him. And then they went on the 21 game win streak or whatever it was.
Yep.
Cora is playing with the pieces that the front office is giving him. You know, it's like, you want Trevor Story's our shortstop? Okay, fine. I will roll him out the shortstop. I am doing the direction of what the team wants.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you want us to throw Devers' glove away? Okay. If that's what you want to do, and you want to throw his glove in the trash, and that's what you're going to tell him, our most tenured player and most expensive player, then I'm going to defend him when he doesn't want to play the field, because the direction of management is telling me that we're not playing Rafael Devers in the field. So that's where I defend Cora, because I do think that he's playing with the chess on the chessboard that the management is allowing him to play with, and management has to look in their. I think management will be gone before Cora is gone, which the average GM lasts about 3 years for the Boston Red Sox. So this is year 2.
We'll be monitoring that pretty closely here down the stretch for sure. And as we get toward the trade deadline, let's introduce our newest segment. And that is our buttered, plain, or burnt. So more or less, this is going to be marry, kiss, or kill me, or marry, fuck, or kill me, or whatever it's called. More or less, I'm going to give you 3 players, and I need you to give me your buttered, your plain, and your burnt, your starter, bench, or DFA. And my 3 players I'm giving you for this week are going to be Ronald Acuna Jr., Rafael Devers, and Mookie Betts.
All right, well, I'm going to go... How old's Acuna now? 28?
Yeah, I believe so. He may be even younger than that.
All right, well, I'm going to go Devers burnt. And then depending how old Acuna is, because I'm pretty sure Mookie is 32.
He is.
So Acuna is 27. Yeah, I'm going to go Devers burnt, Mookie benched, Acuna starter.
And so I want to know, are you basing that off of just like near future, or are you basing that off of this season? How are you looking at that?
The only reason why I'm going Devers dirt is because he burnt, is because he gives no defensive value at the moment. So
that's fair.
Him being a DH, he's burnt, even though he's arguably the second best hitter in baseball right now.
So would you have burned Ohtani?
Out of those 3, if I replaced Devers with Ohtani, I
can't imagine.
I would probably. I still think I give Acuna the nod at starter, assuming that he stays healthy.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think when Acuna's healthy, as he is right now, I mean he is electric. He's one of the best players, if not the best player in baseball. So I don't blame you at all for that. I was a little surprised by your Devers and Mookie Betts situation there, but with the defensive value that you bring up there, that does make sense.
Yeah, Mookie can play all over the field too. It's like,
and Mookie also can play short, right? Like,
yeah,
he's no bum.
And if this was 3-4 years ago, I'd be Mookie starter. You know?
Oh yeah.
I don't have his stats off the top, but I mean, the guy hits 30 home runs, can play any position you want, hits over 300. I mean, he's a stud. He's a 100 guy with runs and RBIs. So, but I mean, he's a little older now, so I'd probably go Acuna, Mookie, Devers is burnt.
And you're gonna end up with a Acuna blowout knee, and you're gonna be out. You're going to be out one guy.
Well, Mookie gets hurt too. So
yeah, so you might be out 2 guys there. Devers at least can hold his own a little bit. Yeah, I'm excited. We're gonna keep this this segment going throughout the season. I think it's gonna be fun. We're gonna bring in some old players, some new players, maybe even some prospects, and have fun with this one because why not make it a little challenging on us every once in a while, where we don't just get to speak our mind. We actually have to make decisions. Speaking
I will
of,
add, I did
yeah.
have future in that equation. So I was doing present and future. So for a prospect, if they have more future value, in my opinion, than say someone else given, then I would weigh that.
Okay, so we'll have to make that distinction going forward. Speaking of making decisions, we're going to now move on to our GM spotlight of the week, which is going to be the Texas Rangers. The Texas Rangers right now are sitting at third place in their division, which I don't think anybody really saw that coming. I know you and I both had them much higher on our list going into the season, but they're now sitting at 26 and 29. They have a total payroll of $216.7 million, which is the seventh most in baseball. And their valuation is at a $2.45 billion. They've got a ton of debt, man. They've got a ton of debt. Some of the most in baseball. I believe it's sitting at approximately $687.5 million in debt. Obviously, I believe their EBITDA is actually pretty good. So they're actually making some decent profits as well. But there's only two teams that have a worse debt ratio than the Texas Rangers, and that would be the Miami Marlins at 38% and the Nationals at 27%. So let's talk about the Rangers. What's going on here? If we were GMs, what are we doing with this team right now? Obviously, they're built to win now, based on their payroll, but they're not winning now. So what's going on here? How can we fix the Rangers if we were put in the spot right now?
Well, looking at their team stats, they have the worst on-base percentage in baseball.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because when you look at their roster on paper, you would think offensively they'd be top 10. So if I was the GM, I would at least wait until the trade deadline to see if this offense can heat up come summer. Warmer the weather, hopefully the hotter the bats is what I would do. 3 games under 500. They're 4.5 back. Who's out there that can really help them? I think that's the most difficult position right now in baseball, is that there's so many teams that are technically still in the wild card hunt. I mean, you even look at someone like the Athletics, who are on a 11-game losing streak. They're only 7 games back of winning their division, which means they're probably, let's see, they're freaking 5.5 back from a wild card spot. It's like they're not even sellers yet if you're the Athletics. Yeah. So back to the Phillies, it's like, what do you want Dave to do? You got to let the market develop. But eventually the market will develop, and obviously you can supplement your offense. You can also call up a couple people. I know they have a couple top prospects that are hitters, and see if that can be a jolt of lightning to their offense. They did something similar last year with having Wyatt Langford start the year.
I believe they just brought up Osuna too, right? This last week, like one of their top prospects, I believe they just brought him up. He played left field and made a pretty spectacular catch. I don't think he's much of a slugger, but maybe something to jolt their offense a little bit. I'm going to give you 4 teams real quick, and I want you to tell me what they all have in common. The Colorado Rockies, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Chicago White Sox, and the Texas Rangers.
And they all suck at hitting.
They all have a sub .650 OPS as a team on the season. That indicates something's got to happen here. I don't know what needs to happen. Obviously, I don't advocate necessarily for making any staff changes yet. I like Bochy. I think he's a good manager. I don't know. I think they just shake up Their hitting coach? Didn't
They
that just
did.
happen? Yeah.
Yeah, they canned him and they brought in Brett Boone.
That's right. That's right. Yes, because we had the Boone off recently.
That's right.
We had the Boone off. Yeah. Yeah, man, I don't know. It's definitely a little shaky. I know from a pitching perspective, obviously, I don't have too many quarrels about their starting pitching. Obviously,
Yeah,
with
that was supposed to
deGrom.
be their issue. That
Yeah.
and their bullpen.
Yeah, their bullpen's actually held up all right. I definitely think it can improve. Um, Speaking of the Pirates, I think that they should go out and kick the tires on Bednar. I know that Bednar's not had a great season, and he's also been kind of on a downward trajectory. He might just need a change of scenery, and I'd love to see him pitch for the Rangers in that bullpen.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the bullpen can always use help. I heard that they're considering moving the Vandy guy as closer. What is his name? Vandy black dude.
Oh, Kumar. Mr. Kumar. Yeah.
Kumar to closer. I mean, if things get really, really dicey, it's like, I mean, Eovaldi's got to have a lot of value at the trade deadline. You know, you trade a positive to, help a negative. But I mean, Jake Berger has been off to a slow start, got sent down. He's recently back up playing first base. I'm pretty sure Marcus Simeon's having a pretty terrible year. Yep. He is hitting 174 with 3 home runs with a 489 OPS, which I would assume is all career lows. You have Ardolis Garcia.
With a negative WAR, by the way.
Ardolis Garcia is hitting 215 with a 645 OPS. What's Jake Berger doing? 217 with a 668 OPS.
There's only 2 players on the team right now that are hitting.
Josh Young?
There's 3 players. There's Corey Seager, who has only played 26 games, but in 100 at-bats this year, he's hitting 300 with an 866 OPS. Josh Young is hitting 281 with a 791 OPS, and Wyatt Langford has a 244 average. The average is a little bit down, but he also leads the team in home runs. He has a 789 OPS, and he's one of the obviously young pillars for that team and that organization. Yeah, I definitely think something needs to be done to spark this. I kind of am with you. I don't really know what you do here yet.
I think you got to wait. And Corey Seager, I think, is back Friday because he's on my fantasy team. But, I mean, wasn't he AL MVP?
I believe he was, yeah, actually.
I mean, you lose the AL MVP for freaking 2.5 months. That's not going to help your offense. It's going to make everyone better once he's back.
Yep.
But, yeah, I think they have too much money invested to really make like a big splash move. They are handcuffed a little bit. And I still like their roster. I think it's just one of those things that you got to hope and see it turns around, which I believe was the same thing that happened last year, and it just everyone got healthy a little too late.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot to look forward to if you're a Rangers fan too. I mean, there's some top prospects out there. I know the farm system is middle of the pack these days. I think it's like 16th overall, but that's because they brought up Langford and they brought up some of these other guys. They still have Sebastian Walcott out there. He's arguably one of the best prospects in all of baseball. I think he's ranked 17th overall in the MLB Top 100. And then Kumar Rocker, obviously, we've talked about him. He's had some injury issues once he gets healthy, and they figure out where to put him. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of with you. Bring some guys up from AAA, spark some runs. Maybe try some guys out, closer by committee, and see if somebody steps up and closes it down for you, and wait on the offense because it's got to get better, right? Too much talent on that offensive side.
But I would also look for like expiring deals, like Cedric Mullins.
Yes.
I'd look at Ryan O'Hearn from both of those dudes from the Orioles. You put him at first. You stick Mullins in the outfield. That's an automatic jolt. Shouldn't cost you too much. Pieces like that. So I think there's ways to inject life into a roster And one way is doing that is just how much capital you want to build. And usually teams that go after those expiring deals are in win now mode. So you got to kind of prove to the ownership that you are going to make a playoff spot. You are going to make a push for the division. Me personally, I had them going into the World Series, so I'm hoping that they do. But
Yeah, we need it.
I think it's a little early. Still a little early. When it gets but to the end of June, that's when it's really like, okay, who's for real, who's not for real, who can make a move to get into a spot, who's not, who's just lingering and treading water. So if I'm the Rangers, I'm holding a little bit, trusting their process, trusting their roster, and hoping that the starting pitching can continue to keep them afloat until they're healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of where they're at in the standings, let's take a quick snapshot here of the current standings. We'll start out with the AL West, actually. 1.5 game lead for the Mariners over the Astros. However, the Astros just took 3 of 4 this last week from Seattle. So Seattle's got to get it going. They can't get too comfy up there in that lead spot. In the AL Central, we've kind of talked about these guys already. The Tigers have a 5-game lead and a 6-game lead for the Yankees in the AL East. I don't know what more I could say about those two teams right now. It looks like they're far and away the best teams within those divisions. The Rays right now are the only ones I would even say, based on what we know today, I think they're the only ones I could see really making a run at the Yankees in the near future. Now, things change throughout the season, but and I think it tightens up a little bit more in the Central than it does in the East for me.
Yeah. The Central's, I still think the Central's a one dog race with the Tigers. I think the Twins, Guardians, and Royals will fluster down when the season continues on. I mean, Minnesota, they came out of absolute nowhere.
And have kind of gone back to nowhere, I think, recently, right?
Yeah, they're still 6 of 4 their last 10, so they're winning their series, which I think Bobby Cox used to say, if you win every series and never get swept, you'll always be in a good position. So
yep,
that's kind of the golden rule to the regular season of baseball. And then for the East, it's definitely a disappointing. Looking at the standings, it's definitely disappointing because I really, really believe the Yankees are not that good this year. They don't impress me on any metric.
They're missing the playoffs, right? That's what's been said on this podcast.
They're one injury away. They're one injury away from missing the playoffs. So
we got to keep watching. We got to keep watching.
So it's the AL is still wide open. Even the Angels are 4.5 back, which is just insanity. So it is what it is. Sometimes when you're in Rome, the Roman Empire had a couple down years and they come back and conquer Germany or whatever. So that's what the AL is doing this year. And, we'll see what happens when they get to the World Series, whoever comes out of it.
Let's look at the East real fast. We can run down these. Phillies, Cubs, Dodgers. Phillies have a 1.5 game lead. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that might have just
went to
expanded a little bit because I believe they took out the Braves today 1-0. The Cubs have a 3-game lead now, which was up from 2-game lead from last week. They had some pretty heroic games against the Cincinnati Reds. Ended up taking a couple games from them, and then the Dodgers extended their lead from 1 to 2, I believe. So I'm not shocked by any of those 3 teams right now. The Cubs are on all cylinders, best offense in baseball, and it's really not even close. And they've scored 324 runs. The next closest team is the Dodgers, and the Yankees actually are tied at 301. So, they're far and away. That's another 7-8 games of 3 or 4 run ball that they've built the lead up for. So, definitely going to be interesting down the stretch. But none of those teams shock me.
Yeah, it looks like the Giants have come back down to earth a little bit as well. I think the Dodgers, that 2.5 game lead is, to me, feels like a 6 game lead. I think you're only going to see it keep increasing, like I keep saying, weekly. Shout out to the Cardinals.
Keep chugging.
They keep chugging. They're looking like buyers.
Unbelievably.
Ex-Red Sox exec running the show. Classic. Having success elsewhere. And then obviously, I mean, we've talked about the Mets. The Mets are going to continue the slide. I don't see it unless they play the Red Sox. That's the only way they're going to continue to win games. The Braves have kind of come back down to earth, but they're going to pick it up. They're going to get streaky in a little bit. So, but like I said, I think if the Phillies can get that lead to like 12 games on the Braves, big series this series. I mean, the Braves got to win it. But if the Phillies can get the 12-game lead going into June, that's going to be very tough task for the Braves to come and win that division.
For sure. And I mean, we've kind of beat up on the Mets a little bit. They're not. It's not that they're a horrible team. There's some flaws that I think that could catch up to them. The only thing that you got to be, I guess, positive about that their offense has really been struggling lately. Pete Alonso's gone through a little stretch now where he hasn't had a ton going on. Obviously, Soto has been a massive disappointment to this point for this season. That's got to change at some point, right? I mean, his metrics, if you look at his StatCast, they're off the charts. However, he's hitting 228, and he's only slugging just above 400, and that's just not going to get it done when you're making the money that they're paying him, and you're hitting at the top of that lineup. He's got to be the spark for them, and it's just not happening. So I agree. I mean, they're going to continue to slide. The only thing that's holding them up right now is their pitching has been excellent, and it continues to be excellent, and I don't see that slowing down any because they're pitching loud.
Shout out to whoever turned Clay Holmes into a starter, because I got to watch him throw against the Red Sox, and he was absolutely filthy. He's really good, and it's cool to see when relievers get obviously every reliever wants to be a starter. It's kind of like, every center in basketball wants to be a 3-point shooter. That's kind of how relievers are with starting pitching. And he's filthy. And he's filthy through 6-7 innings. So whoever had the confidence to do that, kudos to them.
For sure. Let's look at last week's predictions. Dodgers at Mets. Speaking of the Mets, I actually took the Mets. I think on social media I've been labeled as the biggest Mets hater of all time, and it's really not even a true statement. Mets fans can get a little in their feels when you start challenging moves made by the front office. Anyway, so I did pick the Mets actually in a 3-game series against the Dodgers. You had the Dodgers going 2-1. I had the Mets. The Mets did pull it off in that third and final game thanks to a polar bear homer. So I took the win there. Were you shocked by that?
Yeah. The Mets are trash.
That's going to go over well. All right. Let's talk about the Royals at Twins. Joe, you had the Twins winning at 2-1. I had Kansas City 2-1. You did take that one. And kind of looking back, I kind of wish I would have too, because of the fact that the Twins have played pretty well at home and the Royals are just really struggling offensively. However, we'll see what the picks are for later on. You did win that one.
Yeah. Twins are 18-8 in Minneapolis. Target Field. They love it.
We had
a clubhouse in the dugout.
We had the Padres at Braves. This one, neither one of us saw this one coming. The Braves dropped 2 games to the Padres. We both lost. It was gut wrenching. The Acuna game back, they scored a run on the first pitch of the game, which was Acuna's home run, and they failed to score another run in that entire game. And I believe they only scored maybe another one the next day. It was not good. Their offense is really, really struggling. And they struggled again today, losing 1-0 to the Phillies. So, bummer. But we did both lose that one. And then the final one that we had was the Mariners at Astros. So, I'll be honest. We screwed this one up a little bit. We thought this was a 3-game series. It was a 4-game series that started on Thursday. The Astros did win on Thursday. I called for a sweep. I did not get a sweep because the Mariners won on Friday. I'll tell you, when I posted the video about having a sweep and the Astros lost on Friday, I caught a lot of heat for that. But then the Astros did come back. They won the next 2 games. So I don't know. It wasn't a sweep, but they won 3-1. That was a butt kicking. I think I did call it in our last podcast that I said a belt whooping was coming. It happened. The Astros did win 3-1, so I did take that one from you. You wanna tell us where we're at on the season standings now?
I am 15-17, which still has the higher win percentage than you at 14-18. If I'm doing my math correctly.
It's getting tight. You took like I want to say you took like a 4 or 5 game lead on me at one point there. I think I had a skunk week where I didn't get any right, and that really, really ruined me. So if I'm fighting back. You know, we're scrappy. We're a scrappy bunch. We'll get to our this week's predictions at the end of this episode, so stay tuned. In the meantime, let's talk a little fantasy baseball. So let's do a little post-mortem here. How was this last fantasy week experience for you? Because for me, it was god awful.
Yeah, I mean it was definitely butt cheeks. The pitching, my strongest point, did not show up and ended up losing, I think 8-2 over a 2-week stretch. So it wasn't great. Went from 2nd place to 5th place. But luckily we have strong ownership within my fantasy team, and we gave the boys a pep talk, and I think they're ready for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, it could have been worse. I'll tell you, it could have been worse. You could have been me. And it was pretty tight throughout the stretch with my matchup until the very end. Till the very end, his team just came out, absolutely went nuts. He hit for a 2-week span. By the way, in fantasy baseball, this is not normal. In a 2-week span, he hit 302. His team hit 302 with a 901 OPS, which is just outrageous. And while doing all of that, his team pitched to a 2.72 ERA and a 1.050 whip. Just get out of here. These aren't real numbers. I ended up losing my matchup 11 categories to 2 categories, and we're moving on. That's kind of where we're at.
How many RBIs and home runs did he have?
So he had 29 home runs, and he had 100 RBIs. I actually had a great week. I had a great week. My team hit 24 homers, 80 RBIs, 82 runs scored. Oh, he also scored 122 runs this last week. These are outrageous numbers for people that may not play fantasy baseball. Even in a 2-week stretch, when you see those types of numbers, it's pretty outrageous. But my team outfielded him, so
I haven't won in fielding yet. I have yet to win fielding in a 2-week matchup. That maybe this week.
Yeah, you got to get some more Anthony Volpes and Ellie De La Cruzes on your team. It helps a ton.
Clearly.
Let's talk a little prospect update for our fantasy baseball teams and just in general. This isn't necessarily fantasy specific. However, we did mention him earlier. Roman Anthony is slashing 354, 485, 494 with 2 home runs, 1 steal, and a 20% walk rate and only a 19.8% strikeout rate in 22 games this month for AAA. I believe he launched another home run today as well. The guy's outrageous. And, I think I made a comment it might have been on social media, I'm not sure, where I said, I think the Red Sox may have accidentally called up Marcelo Mayer and they meant to call this guy up because it seems like there's, kind of what we talked with Cags, right? It's like, why is this guy in AAA? Bring him up.
Clearly hasn't proven enough, so he needs at least another 600 at-bats in Worcester before he can get his call to the show. So,
our last prospect here is Bubba Chandler with a 2.27 ERA, a 1.08 WHIP, walk plus hits per 9 innings, and 61 strikeouts in 43.3 innings. That's the most impressive stat if you're looking at it. I mean, when you start approaching basically 1.5 strikeouts per inning, it gets pretty nasty. That means your stuff is tough to touch. How about you lead us in here with a little who's hot, who's not action for the last week or 2 weeks, I believe.
Yeah, last week's stats or 2 week stats. I think the first one is last week and then the rest are 2 weeks. Here we go. Seiya Suzuki. 480 average, 3 home runs, 12 RBIs, 1382 OPS last week. Pretty good stuff. Cubs.
Firing on all cylinders. Seiya Suzuki also leads the MLB in RBIs this season, and I'll tell you what, he's finally hitting his stride. Great heralded Japanese player that kind of got off to a rocky start in the States, but has now found his groove.
Really? He must have overtook Devers then last couple of days because he was the league leader in RBIs.
I think it just happened yesterday, I believe.
Yeah, sounds right. Next, we have Ryan O'Hearn for the O's. Last 2 weeks, he's hitting .556, 4 runs, 1 home run, 4 RBIs, and 1 stolen base. Also plays for my fantasy team. Also could be a sneaky ad because I do not believe he is crazy rostered. He is 79% rostered, so it could be an ad.
Mm-hmm.
I think he does a lot of DHing, but he technically has outfield and first base flexibility. He's been on my team the past 2 years. He's always nice to have, and especially if you need a boost specifically offensively.
Is he a platoon guy? Is he a guy that they platoon at all?
I think he used to play outfield. I don't think he's played much outfield this year, but he still has the position for fantasy, and then he platoons at first base.
Okay. Yeah.
So first base DH.
Clearly hit the ball. 556 average is pretty insane.
Yeah, and if you wanted his yearly stats, they're also pretty good. He's hitting .340 with a .985 OPS and 9 jacks. So, and that's, like I said, he was platooning. Now I believe he has taken over primarily. They have him in the lineup somewhere every day now. Also could be a good trade piece. I'd look out for that. The O's continue to spiral out of control.
Yep.
Next we have Isaac Paredes. 346 average, 7 runs, 4 home runs, and 7 RBIs the last 2 weeks. I would justify that as hot.
Yeah, I mean he's a pull hitter, and he plays in Houston where they have the Crawford boxes. I'll be honest, I almost expected him to be even further along this season than where he's at. But he's obviously playing well and starting to heat up, so can't fault him for that.
Next, we have Logan O'Hope, catcher for the Angels. 308 average, 6 runs, 4 home runs, 7 RBIs the last 2 weeks.
Also got hit in the head. He's a catcher. Got hit in the head with a bat the other day. Had to leave the game. It was not a pretty scene, I don't think.
Yeah, well, hopefully he's doing good. And if you need catching offensive production, it could be a sneaky ad to give you some boost. Have Jaron Duran, 393, 4 runs, 1 home run, 6 RBIs, 1 stolen base for the Boston Red Sox. He's been heating up over the past couple weeks, not just this past 2 weeks, looking like the all-star of last year.
Pumping that trade value, baby.
Hopefully. Trey Turner. It's 360 average, 7 runs, 3 bombs, 6 RBIs, 4 bags. Probably the most looking at the hot list, he's giving you the most bang for your buck for over the past 2 weeks, which that is what Trey Turner does, which is why he got paid the big bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Got Kevin Gossman, .60 ERA, .53 WHIP, 15 Ks through 15 innings pitched. That's 2 quality starts as well. Has a 1-to-1 strikeout to innings pitch ratio as a starter. That's what I always look for. That's nasty stuff. He looks like he is getting better as it warms up.
Yeah, and just outdueled deGrom, the K-less man, yesterday. So.
Adrian Hauser, 0 ERA, .75 WHIP, 8 Ks through 12 innings pitched, so that's through 2 starts, 2 weeks. Another guy, maybe he stays hot, can pick him up. I don't think he is rostered in a lot of leagues. Let's see. For the White Sox, he is rostered in 13% of leagues.
Yeah.
So he is available.
Yeah, and I would say go get him because the White Sox, from a starting pitching perspective this year, have gotten some really good value out of individual performances. I think overall their team starting ERA doesn't look great, but I know that they've got some guys on that staff that are really dirty, and it's kind of what the White Sox do. They stash and bring up really hot and elite prospects in their pitching staff, and then they end up getting rid of them in a year. So, yeah, go out and get Adrian Hauser. He's, I'm sure he'll probably keep it up.
Last, I have Ronnie Henriquez, 0 ERA, 0 WHIP, 1 save. However, he has 5 Ks to 2.2 innings pitched. That is a 2K to 1 inning ratio. I believe he is the new closer for the Marlins, or the lead closer for the committee of Marlins. If you need saves, he could be a boost to the team. He is also rostered in 16% of leagues. So, 24 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, anytime you can get cheap saves, you might as well, right? I mean, even if it is the Marlins, they're going to be in some tight games, I'm sure. I am going to add one guy to that list because I added Seiya Suzuki, obviously. He was the National League Player of the Week this last week. But we have to put the AL Player of the Week as well. We've actually talked about this guy before. I think he's been on our hot list, and we've had him on a couple times here. Taylor Ward. All of a sudden, coming back to life again here. Had a 407 batting average, 3 homers, 12 RBIs with a 1.382 OPS last week. Yeah, man, mashing. This guy, he's definitely a home run hitter, but it seems like he kind of goes on streaks. So I don't know. If you make the hot list a couple times and you make a couple NL player or AL player of the weeks, I say go get him. Might as well stash him on your bench at the very least. He could be a trade chip or, kind of slot in for you a little bit. Let's talk a little not action. So these are the guys you don't want to mess around with right now. Ian Happ is only batting 154 since returning from the IL. I think Happ will get it going. I wouldn't necessarily give up on him yet. Craig Counsell just keeps him at the top of the lineup right now, hoping that he figures it out. I think at some point you got to think about sliding PCA back up to that one spot and Happ down. That might give him the boost he needs to start hitting a little better. We've seen it in the past from Happ. So ride this one out a little bit. This guy, don't ride out. Trevor Story. Do not ride him out. It's not going to get much better. At the very least, if you want to keep him benched. He's not going to, even if he hits a home run here or there for you, it's not worth a 126 batting average over 28 games. It's just not going to pan out. We won't put Joe through any more misery on talking about Trevor Story. And we will go to Matt McClain, who has a horrible slash line through 41 games. A 176 batting average, a 289 and a 318. Only 6 home runs on the entire year, 17 RBIs over 41 games. Not a great showing for Mr. McClain. You ready for this?
Series to watch this weekend.
Here we go. And we're back. This is, I think this is my favorite topic and my favorite segment of the entire podcast, because it gives me an opportunity to redeem myself from the prior week or keep the hot streak rolling. And right now, I'm feeling good. I'm going to go, here we go. Rays at Houston this week. All right, we're not going to screw this one up this time. This is a 4-game series. We have a tendency to do this. This is a 4-game series. Joe, let's go ahead and start out with who you have in this 4-game series.
All right, well, game 1, we got Baz versus TBD. I like Baz. Game 2, we got PP Poo versus Gusto. I like PP Poo. Game 3, we got Lytle versus Valdez, which I like Valdez. And then game 4, we got Taj Bradley versus Brown, which I like Brown. I'm going the classic banana split.
I like it. I'm going to fade you a little bit here, though. I'm going to ride with the Astros. They didn't let me down this last week, and I'm going to go 3-1. I actually like Baz to win his start, but I think the Astros are going to rattle off 3 games in a row, which they have a problem doing. They can only win 2 games in a row, it seems like. So I like Gusto, Valdez, and Brown to top Pipoit, Littell, and Bradley.
Sounds good. Next we have...
Yeah, go ahead. Lead us off.
Next we have Tigers at Royals. Game 1, we got Mize versus Waka, Skubal versus Bubik in Game 2. In Game 3, we have Montero versus Lorenzen. In Kansas City, I have the Tigers going 2-1.
Yeah, Skubal's winning his start. However, Bubik, that guy is... have you seen his stats? Do we need to pull this up real fast? Bubik is one of the best pitchers in baseball right now, and it's actually pretty impressive what he's doing. He's right up there with the Skeens and Skubals of the world. When you kind of look at his overall stat lines, he has a 1.45 ERA, 70 strikeouts, and almost under a 1 WHIP. With Cole Reagans being out for the Tiger or for the Royals, he's really stepped up and been a solid ace for them. So I'm gonna go ahead and say Royals 2-1. I don't love it, actually. I don't love it, but I'm gonna go with it. Royals at home. I think they bounce back after showing me up last week with the Twins.
Sounds good. Our next game, we got Twins at Mariners. Matthews versus Wu in Game 1. Ober versus Castillo in Game 2. And Paddock versus Evans in Game 3. I got the Seattle Mariners taking 2 out of 3 against the Twins. Twins are on the road. Just makes sense.
I don't disagree about the road stats. However, the Mariners are kind of stumbling as well. It'll be interesting to see how they handle the rest of the series with the Washington Nationals and see what it's looking like going into this weekend. I'm going to go ahead and take the Twins, who showed me up last week. I'm going to take them 2-1. I kind of like them to win the Ober and the Paddock games. I think Wu gets his.
And that takes us to Sunday Night Baseball. The Yankees versus the Dodgers. The old school New York rivalry. We have Game 1, Max Fried versus Gosselin. Game 2, Warren versus Knack. And Game 3, Yarbrough versus Yamamoto on Sunday Night Baseball. And I have the Dodgers winning 2 out of 3 over the Evil Empire.
You know, we got to go back and look at some point. I'm pretty sure every time that we've had the Dodgers on the predictions, I'm almost positive that you have gone with the Dodgers every single time. And I'm almost positive that the Dodgers have not won a single predictioned series for you as long as we've been doing this. So we'll have to go back and check that. We'll have to
sounds
fact
like they're
check
due
there.
then.
But I'm pretty sure it's sitting that way. And once again, I'm going to fade you here. I like the Yankees to go out to LA, and I like them to take 2-1. I like the Fried-Gonsolin matchup for sure. I think Yamamoto obviously wins on Sunday Night Baseball, but I think Warren is going to get it done over there against Mr. Knack. We'll see. We'll see. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a great week of baseball. And I'm excited to come back and finally see me on the top of the standings. That's going to do it for episode 10 of Toast Sports Baseball. If you guys are enjoying the show, please make sure to follow, leave a rating, share it with your baseball friends. It really helps us grow. We'll be back next week breaking down all the biggest stories around the league. But until then, stay hot, stay locked in, and as always, stay toasty.